What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So I wanted to do an update for the health journey. I know some of you have been following this extensively. Some of you don't give a shit. That's totally fine. The main reason I wanted to do this was, one, just so you know how I'm doing, sort of a little check-in of sorts. Two, it's also just something I want to put out there for anyone else who's either going through something similar or might be going through something similar in the future or know someone who's going through something similar. Just to talk about it, because I feel like there's just a lot of stuff out there, or rather, I feel like there's a rather lack of information out there or videos that are discussing this. And I figure with how large of an audience that I do have, maybe there's a chance that the exposure goes a bit broader and can help someone for some reason or another, right? So it's going to be a bit of a rambly update video, so you can kick back, relax. Do want to do a couple of quick housekeeping stuff before we get into it. First and foremost, if you are in Las Vegas, this upcoming Sunday, we have the Take Steps Crohn's and Colitis walk. It's just like one of those typical walks where we just try to fundraise and make a bunch of money. So if you're in Vegas and you want to come attend that, I will have the links down in the description for it. We're also raising money for it. So currently, I think the leader of all of the different groups is at like $3,000. I think with our collective audience, like we can probably shatter that. We're already at my fundraising level, we're at like a few hundred, but I think if, each of you just chucked in $1, $5, if you can't, that's totally cool. But I think it'd be really fun if out of nowhere, a couple days before the event, there's just this wave of support for the foundation. And then we end up taking first place. Our team name is Royal Flush, very appropriate for several reasons, being a Yu-Gi-Oh player and everything. But yeah, I'll have the links down in the description if you want to donate. If not, no big deal. For those of you who don't know, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. So all the money that goes into it is going towards cures for people who have UC, IBS, Crohn's, all those different things. And a lot of the current drugs or solutions that are available actually have come from funding through our foundation. So if you want to help contribute so that people don't have to suffer like I have for the past 15 years of my life, and anyone else who might be suffering, it's a really good cause. So like I said, I'll have the link down in the description. If you want to donate, cool. If not, no big deal. I just think it'd be really funny at the last second we can just like pull ahead and take first place. Just be a little bit competitive, right? We're all competitive people at the end of the day. We're Yu-Gi-Oh players. And then secondly, I have also created a bathroom locator app. This is something that is a bit of a side project of mine. I want to just make this as like a free public service for anyone who suffers from any conditions, but even people who just want to find a nice bathroom. We're trying to make like the Yelp of bathrooms essentially, so people can only go to nice bathrooms and don't have to deal with crappy bathrooms, no pun intended, right? So you can track all the information about the bathroom. It directs you to bathrooms. There's a ton of cool stuff on there. So I'll have the link down in the description to that as well. We're currently in like 14 or 15 different states, 6 or 7 different countries. We've already logged like 400 or 500 bathrooms on there, which is really cool to see, like the map just slowly start to populate. But yeah, you can check that out too if you're interested or if you want to help contribute, because it is all crowdsourced data. So yeah, just want to throw that out there as well. But that's not what you guys are here for. You guys are here to get caught up on the cancer journey. So I guess, where do we start? So we're about a month in now. Actually, we're over a month. So I just recently, yesterday as a matter of fact, I had my 5th treatment. So I have 12 treatments total. I get them every other week. So for instance, this week I had it yesterday. It doesn't really stop after I get it, so I'll explain what that means momentarily. But I have a on week, which is the week that I consider I get chemo. Then I have an off week. So next week, at the time of recording this, I don't have to get chemo, and I'm able to sort of be like a normal human during that week. It's not like totally perfect, but a lot of the side effects and symptoms sort of subside, or just, they take a break until I get my next treatment. And so that's really nice. I know some people have to get chemo multiple times a week, every week, what have you. So in terms of the overall treatment, I feel like, relatively speaking, I have it pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still chemo, right? Like, it's not like it's fun or anything, but compared to like when most people hear chemo, they're like, oh my God, right? They kind of freak out. I relatively speaking, I think I have it pretty good. So I guess I'll give you some breakdown on like how everything works. So basically on Tuesday, every other Tuesday, I go into the treatment facility. They do my blood work just to make sure everything looks good prior to treatment. Once that happens, they bring my concoction of chemicals over to me. It's just a big cocktail of a bunch of just crazy nonsense. For those interested, typically the drug that is used to treat colon cancer is called Folfox, Folfox. I'm not going to go into the super nitty-gritty details about it. If you want to look that up on your own, feel free. But I'll give you the rundown. So basically, once the blood work comes back and everything looks good, They will hit me with a steroid and some anti-nausea medication. That takes about an hour for them to inject intravenously. I say it's intravenously, but it's going through my port, which is nice because they don't have to always prick me every single time. They just go through there, which they're still pricking me, but it's not nearly as bad because it's just like already kind of set up, if that makes sense. Getting an IV like every single time is really annoying. So it's a nice solution. And from there, after the anti-nausea medication and the steroid are all complete, which, like I said, takes about half an hour to an hour, just depending on the flow rates and everything. Then they hook me up with the FOLFOX, and there's like 2 other drugs too. That's like it's just a chemo cocktail, if you will. I don't remember the other names because they're just long medical names. But FOLFOX is like the main treatment, and so they hook me up to 3 separate bags that are all going into one line that then go into my port, and so that takes roughly, I want to say 2 to 2.5 hours for that to like fully administer. And then after that, they then have a couple syringes, one of which is another medication that's part of the FOLFOX treatment that they have to inject just manually for the last 5 minutes. So they just hook it up to the line, and then they just stand there for 5 minutes awkwardly while they just inject this. I try to talk to the nurses to make it like less awkward, but it's kind of weird because they just have to stay there for 5 minutes, and they don't have like a bag for it. It's like through a syringe. It's really weird. Anyway, then they hook me up to one final thing, which is actually I'll briefly show you here. I don't know how well you can see that, but basically they hook me up to that same part of the FOLFOX treatment that they use the syringe for the 5 minutes for. To take home. So I actually don't end my chemo treatment until Thursday, as a matter of fact. So I have a little fanny pack. I don't know if I can really, you can sort of see it there. Yeah, so I have a little fanny pack that actually contains the chemo itself, and it just slow drips into me over the next 24 to 36 hours. So they send me home with this, and then so I have to just keep getting chemo essentially all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and then Thursday, roughly around in the morning, like about 48 hours after I received all the other treatments, I go back in. They just, this bag will be empty probably by the end of today, Wednesday. And then they go back in, they just unhook the port, they just put a Band-Aid over it, and they're like, okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And that's basically it in terms of that. It sounds like a lot, and it is. It's a good time just to have 4 hours to myself and just be able to, I don't know, contemplate life, or just like talk to some of you guys on social media or YouTube, or just actually get caught up on work. You know, sometimes I'll just like watch edits for things because I'm like, oh, I'm here. I may as well just like make use of the time. Or I'll play RuneScape like a lunatic because I'm already suffering enough. But in any case, yeah, so that's like the whole FOLFOX treatment. In terms of like how my side effects have been, again, like I said, I feel like I have it really good compared to like other chemo treatments. Again, people kind of freak out when they hear chemo. I remember when I was like telling people at first, I was like, this is going to sound a lot worse than it is. And I remember I told you guys that in one of the prior videos. But in terms of overall side effects, there are a few. But I'm also fortunate that some of them have not been nearly as prevalent as you might read online if you look up about these treatments. Like one of the biggest things with any chemo is nausea, right? Fortunately, I have had basically zero nausea. I've had like almost like this opposite effect because you're also supposed to like lose your appetite. I'm like ravenous. I feel like I'm hungrier than I usually am. And I'm not sure if that's because I had like my colon taken out. And now that I can eat things, my body's like, oh, let's just go to town. We can just go nuts. So I don't know if it's like in combination with that, I'm having like a different reaction to most people. And I guess I should preface this by saying, if you're watching this and you're like about to go through like FOLFOX specifically or any sort of chemo, keep in mind that it varies from person to person. So like my experience might not be yours, although I hope it is, because again, like I said, relatively speaking, it's not ideal, but compared to what you can read online for some people, it is way better than that. So just keep that in mind as we go through this, that your experience may vary, if you will. That's the classic advertising timeline or tagline. Anyway, so yeah, appetite-wise, I have like a voracious appetite, which is great, you know, all things considered, because like having a poor appetite obviously is not very good. But the nausea is basically non-existent, which rocks. For those of you who don't know, one, I hate throwing up, and two, I just don't throw up. Like, prior to all of this starting back a year ago, when I had to go to the emergency room because I was vomiting, I don't think my wife of like 5 years, I knew her prior to us getting married, but I've known her for about 5 to 6 years now. She had not seen me vomit a single time that we have been together. And not like I was like hiding it from her. It's just like I just don't vomit. That is like the one thing that I just don't do. And thankfully, because I absolutely fucking hate it. It's like the worst sensation ever. So I remember when I remember when they were telling us that, oh yeah, that's like one of the main common side effects is nausea. I'm like, oh great. But I don't really have it. And even if I have like a jar of pills from the pharmacy that if I ever need to, if I feel the nausea coming on, I can take it. I still basically have that entire container full. I think I've only used the pills once or twice, and I think it was extremely early on, like when I first started getting the treatment. One thing that's interesting about FOLFOX is that the side effects can be like cumulative. So this, again, is something that varies person to person. So initially, like your first treatment or two might not be that bad, and then maybe by the time you get like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it might be like worse. I don't feel like I've really experienced that for the most part, although I will say that I remember when MBT and Nim Nim were here for the Vegas 3v3 about a month ago now. I remember telling my wife recently, I said, I don't know how the fuck I did that in retrospect. Because now one of the biggest side effects that I experience is just extreme fatigue. Like, imagine that feeling when you stayed up for like 48 hours, like, and you haven't slept. It feels like that, and it can just come on out of nowhere. Like, I wouldn't be surprised that by the time I'm finished recording this video, that I'm gonna like need a nap. So typically during my on weeks, again, the weeks that I get chemo, I'll have to sleep for like 12 hours, maybe 13, and then like also take a nap or two during the day. Like, it's that bad, and it just comes out of nowhere too. So it's that's interesting. Again, it's not like the worst side effect, but it's like very frustrating in terms of like trying to get shit done. But yeah, as long as I get the sleep, I'm fine. Conversely, one of the other issues is that one of the supplementary medications that's part of the FOLFOX treatment is like basically speed. I researched, and so there are some times I never suffered from like insomnia, or like I'm the type that I can sleep like literally anywhere in like the most uncomfortable circumstances. Like, if I'm tired, I'll sleep. But I've never experienced like not being able to sleep before. Even with UC, if I would wake up like multiple times during the night to go shit and then go back to bed, I'd still fall back asleep. Like, that would not wake me up in the slightest. I would want to go back to sleep after that. But because it's like basically speed as part of the treatment, it actually happened last night, as a matter of fact. I got up at about like 4 a.m, I think, and I was just like wired. I was just like, I cannot fall back asleep. I was just like staring at the ceiling, like I'm awake. And so it's weird how there's like that dichotomy of I'm extremely exhausted, but then part of the treatment keeps me like wired, which can obviously be a positive or a negative depending on the way you look at it. But thankfully, I was able to sleep like 8 hours last night because I went to bed. I'm an old man. I go to bed at like 8 o'clock. So I slept from like 8 to 4. So I basically got a full night's sleep. And to be honest, historically, like when I had UC, I was getting up every single night, like multiple times during a night. So my sleep was just horrific. So to me, just getting a solid 6, 7, 8 hours uninterrupted is incredible. And I think that's one of the things you'll hear me echo multiple times throughout this video, is that because I suffered so much on the UC side of things, chemo's bad, don't get me wrong, but I feel like dealing with UC was way worse than this. And so I have this like weird, unique perspective that it's like, I guess I look at it very relatively, right? Where it's like, okay, well, I was dealing with something much worse prior for a much longer period of time, where this has like an end date, you know, in theory, right? In 6 months, I should be clear from this. So in theory, there's an end date. And also, it's just like when you add up all the side effects and everything, it's still not as bad as you see at the end of the day. And that's like really sad to say. Like, we're talking about like cancer and chemo and stuff, right? But yeah, like it's actually not as bad. And like, I'm not trying to take away from the fact that it's rough and it's difficult to like endure it, but I don't know, man. Especially now, because I can like eat whatever I want and there's like no consequences for it. I think that just like really helps, especially the fact I still have my appetite too. I think like there's a nice balance with all of this, which is a nice reprieve, honestly, from dealing with UC for so long. So anyway, we talked about the nausea. We talked about like appetite. We talked about the fatigue and also like being wired simultaneously. Another big side effect, and this is very common for people with this particular treatment, is like neuropathy. So like sensitivity to cold specifically. And that is definitely real. So the best way I can describe this is think about when like your arm or leg falls asleep and there's that like there's like that pins and needles feeling. It feels like that. It's a bit more intense only when in environments that are cold and or touching things that are cold. So it's very funny because when I get stuff like out of the refrigerator during my on week, I forgot to mention that it's nice. It only lasts for the on week. So by the time the weekend rolls around, it usually goes away by like Saturday or Sunday. And then the following week, my off week, it's not there at all. So I can have whatever cold stuff I want, which is nice. And I'll get into why that is in a little bit. But yeah, so like I have oven mitts when I need to get stuff out of the fridge. So it just looks very funny because it looks like I don't know, some sort of like scientist like handling something, even though it's just like, a cup of yogurt or whatever. So that's entertaining. And thankfully we live in a desert and it's very like we're going into like the spring, which is basically our summer because Vegas has like 2 seasons, winter and summer. So I live in an environment that it's not cold. Because I remember when MBT and Nim were here for the 3v3, it was actually very cold and windy. And I remember as we were walking outside to get to the venue, I remember feeling my whole body feeling that like pins and needles sensation, which I hadn't experienced before because it hadn't been that cold here lately. And even if it were, I would stay inside. So that was very real, but it goes away very quickly. Like once you're in like a warm environment, or if let's say I touch something cold and then I'll get the feeling, but then if I like put it down, it almost like immediately goes away. Or if I put like my hand in my pocket or like under warm water, it'll go away almost instantly. It doesn't linger or anything, but the longer you hold it, the more severe and intense the pins and needles feeling is. And it can almost verge on pain if you hold something for too long. So for instance, if you're picking up a something to pour into a glass, right? Like, a bottle of orange juice or something, right? Then the longer I hold it, it becomes more and more intense. It can be like more of like a burning or like super like sharp pointed, like painful sensation. Like again, when you sleep on your arm or leg for too long like that. So that's kind of annoying. Primarily because I'm one of those weirdos that only drinks like water or like maybe like orange juice or lemonade every now and then. Like I don't drink soda. I don't drink anything like that. But because I live in a desert, I like my drinks to be like ice cold, like borderline freezing. And so that's kind of like stripped away from me, which sucks. And I have to drink like room temperature and or warm drinks, which is like fine. I really like tea. So I've just been kind of just replacing my water with tea. But it's frustrating because I feel like I'm drinking a lot less than I normally would because I usually drink like a fish. And I need to be mindful of dehydration because of having the ostomy bag and everything like that. So that's just something I've had to balance and try to figure out how to work on. But yeah, it's it's very entertaining during the on week when I'm just like touching things with gloves and stuff. Or I have to have Brittany get stuff for me because like I straight up can't touch it. But it's annoying, but it's manageable. I think it also could depend on like where you live. Like I can imagine if you live in a colder climate, this would be a lot worse to deal with potentially. So I'm grateful in that regard that I live in a place that isn't like that. And it's also like not winter, right? We're going into, like I said, spring or summer. Like today it's like 85 degrees here. So that's like what, 20, that's like maybe even 30s in Celsius. Probably it's like 32 Celsius for my freedom unit followers. But yeah, that's annoying, but it's like, it could be worse. And then another side effect is this like metallic taste. Like, I don't know how to describe this at all. I'm usually pretty good at trying to describe things, but like, it's almost like, imagine like licking rocks, I guess. Like if you went outside and just licked rocks and then tried to like eat or drink anything, you would have this almost like calcified sediment, like minerally taste in your mouth. Like I don't really know how else to describe this sensation. It's bizarre because it can make certain foods or drinks taste differently, but not everything. And this is also a 1-2 punch with me loving to drink water because it makes the water taste like super metallic. Like someone just like poured like metal into my water. And it's like, it's almost like off-putting. And if you might read online and you'll see people say, oh yeah, my favorite food, like I no longer can eat it because it just tastes awful or, whatever. And so it sucks. Again, that's like a 1-2 punch with the water. Thankfully, that also goes away usually by the end of the on week, which is nice. But it's like only water is what is affected by that. So I can eat anything else or drink anything else, and it does not have that metallic taste. So I don't know what it is about water specifically for me. Like, again, it could just be like, that's the luck of the draw for me because like I said, it depends on the person so much. But man, that's frustrating just because it's like water's like one of the few things that I'm just like, everyone who knows me like personally knows that I just love drinking water. And so it's like, oh, that just sucks. But it goes away, thankfully. So like on the off week, I can drink water, cold water, like just fine, no issues. But it's just finding that right balance. And so I think for the most part, that pretty much sums up all of my side effects. I guess my hair. So a lot of people, when you hear chemo, you're like, oh, like you're going to go bald. Full Fox is interesting. Full Fox is very different from a lot of other like chemo treatments, from what I've learned. So with my hair, I'm not going to lose it, I hope, but it is thinning. So for instance, if I take a shower and I'm cleaning my hair, or if I'm just like styling my hair, like putting product in it, or even if I'm just like here yapping, and if I like scratch my head or like, do some like pose with my face, if I touch my hair, it doesn't come out in like clumps, but I will notice a significant number of hairs on my hand, sometimes on the shoulder. Thankfully, I have very thick hair and it grows very quickly. So I think it's like gonna sort of balance itself out in that way. But it is like noticeable. It's funny. Like I'll see usually like in the shower, I see like my wife's hair, just like because she has a lot of it. But now it's like my hair is there too. So now it's like we have like an equal amount, which is kind of funny. Although hers is like, one of her hairs is like 10 of my hairs because her hair is like, 6 feet long or whatever. But very funny. Very like I can even see right now, like on my desk, there's like little hairs from my head. But yeah, so that if anyone's worried who's getting Full Fox about losing your hair, I'm a month in and my hair is still fine. I even got a cut too, so like clearly I'm not that concerned. But your experience may vary, right? I want to keep repeating that because I think that's very important. So how has this like been affecting YouTube and content creation? Because I think this is something that obviously is something you're all wondering about. It's been an adjustment. So obviously, like we've only been putting out about 3 videos a week, sometimes maybe a 4th, depending on like if I have time to film something else as like a one-off, which if you're watching this now, you might have something fun to look forward to in the future as a one-off, but we'll see when that gets released. Maybe next week if I had to guess, but in any case. So we've just been sticking to Prague, the card review videos, and Masochist for the time being. It's kind of rough because I want to make more content, but at the same time, it's like I can't push myself too hard. Some of you guys may have been seeing in either the YouTube posts or on my social media that every time I go in for treatment, I post like a little like, pseudo motivational post of, just to keep enduring, right? And just like keep pushing. And I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to because we're all going through our own shit, right? So I'm eating extremely well and I'm like trying to like take care of my body as best I can. I'm going to the gym just so I can like stay fit because I'm a sedentary lump and I just sit in front of my computer making videos for you guys all day. So I need to make sure I stay healthy in that regard. It's all those things that when you're in your like 30s that, anyone might go through. We're like, oh, I got to start taking care of myself. But now that I have like a new lease on life, if you will, after the colon removal, but then now I'm dealing with the cancer stuff. I've had a lot of time to reflect and just kind of decide on like what is important in life and like what I want to do and how I need to like better take care of myself, even though a lot of this stuff necessarily wasn't my fault, just to ensure that, I live like a long, healthy life, right? And I think a lot of us, want that. So it's really just trying to find the balance. And so it's tough because like I said, I really want to be making more content, but for the time being, I think like this might be the stream at which content is coming out until we're done with chemo, which the final date, like when I get my final disconnect, is actually literally the last day in July 31st. So I think for now, we're going to try to like take things a bit slow, like even with the streams for Masochist, like I'm trying my best just to make sure we can keep up with that. And thankfully, one stream for Masochist is like multiple episodes for YouTube. So that's really nice. It's really just trying to just balance everything out. And so I've had to like adjust my schedule where on my on week, I try to not do anything. I try to just like rest as best I can. I might still go to the gym or something, but for the most part, I know I will get exhausted. So I try not to book anything, or if anything, I'll book like one video to do. Like, so typically Gage and I record Prague on Monday. That's really good because that's right before I would get chemo. So like if I'm going to do anything, I try to do it on Monday before I get chemo. And then from Tuesday till Friday, because I typically don't film stuff on the weekends unless there's like some reason to. I'll take that off and just like try to rest and not overdo it, right? Then on the following week, on my off week, I try to do everything I can to have like 2 weeks worth of content coming out for you guys. So then I have my off week taken care of and then like the next on week. So then we're sort of like ahead in a way, if that makes sense. And it's been an adjustment because typically I'm used to just like filming multiple times a day, like, going through the week. And now I can't do that. Multiple instances, I'll film something with Gage or with Rarin or CGB or whoever. And after the video, I will just close everything. I will go out into the living room or the bedroom. I will just lay down. And my wife's like, oh, you should just take a nap. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like knocked out. So that's, even though, it compared to jobs that require more, manual labor, if you will, like it doesn't seem like it's that bad. But when we're filming videos, like we're animated and we're engaged a lot of the time. And so may not necessarily be like physically draining, but it's like more mentally draining than anything. And I think that just with the major fatigue is one of the biggest side effects. It just knocks me out. So like there's times where I can't even I can get through like one video in a day and like that's it. So it's pretty rough. So just so you guys have an idea of like what's to come for the next few months, I think it's going to be sort of like this. Like I said, it's like 3 videos a week, maybe some one-offs here and there if I have time to squeeze them in. And yeah, I've got other stuff planned, and I'm using this time to try to think about how I want like content creation to look moving forward for multiple reasons, but that's like probably more for a different video. But I thought it would be fun, actually, before we're filming this video, I made a post on both YouTube and Twitter to see who had any like specific questions regarding all this. And I thought that would be fun to answer a few of those. So let me go ahead and take a look here and see what we got. Epsilon514 asks, you get asked by any nurses what you do for a living and have to explain the intricacies of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like you're a seasoned lawyer. I would say for the most part, every now and then it comes up where the nurses ask me what I do. I don't really go into the details of it. I just say I'm a YouTuber. And then sometimes they ask what I like make videos about. And usually the conversation goes something like this. Have you heard of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game? 99% of the time they say no. And then I said, have you heard of Pokemon? And they say yes. And then I'm like, okay, it's like that. And then that's basically where the conversation ends. I've had that conversation more times than I can count. Very rarely someone will actually know, so I get to skip the awkwardness of it, and then we can actually like talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's very fun. I remember in the hospital, actually, when I was getting my colon removed, one of the the surgery team would visit me every single morning just to check on me, see pre-surgery, they were seeing like if like I was gonna be like ready for surgery, and then post-surgery, they were just checking to make sure everything like looked good like after the fact, right? But there was the head of the surgery team. I won't name him in case he doesn't want to be like named, but at one point, it came up that I did YouTube. I forget how, but somehow it came up. And then, like, I talked about, like, then he was, like, asking, like, oh, yeah. Oh, I remember. They were, because I was, like, my recovery was insane and everyone was just freaking out at how well I was recovering and how quickly it was happening. They came in and they said how they should have me and my doctor do, like, a promotional video for doing surgeries or whatever, or like how like this is like the ideal outcome for people who get a surgery like I did, and so like whether it's like a Netflix documentary, like whatever, like it was just like a funny like remark. And then either Brittany or my mom said how like, oh, did you know he's a YouTuber? And he's like, no, I didn't. And so that was really funny because then the next day he comes back. And when they knock on the door and like they open it, and the first thing the guy says is Cimo. So the guy like looked me up and like found like all the Cimo lore, and I'm just like, oh my fucking god. So that was hilarious. That was fun. But I mean, they're a phenomenal team. So it was cute. It was cute, especially just going through everything. It was funny. So yeah, that's basically. It's more the former, but sometimes you'll get some like funny ones like that. So I think that'd be fun to share. F-Bomb636, appropriate considering it's my channel. How are you doing mentally? Juggling the channel and health, I'm sure, is tough on the mind. 100% it is. I sort of went into detail about this a little bit, but it's like physically is one thing, right? Just dealing with I'm basically poisoning myself to get rid of like the cancer, right? But mentally, it's rough because I'm grappling with like I want to. What's the best way to describe this? Let me take a step back. When I got my colon removed and like all of a sudden everything was just like phenomenal, right? Like I could eat anything I want. I wasn't like dealing with all of like the issues that come with having UC, like the constant like having to use the bathroom, even like mentally not having to worry about like finding a bathroom all the time. The anemia, because like you guys can probably tell by my coloring that I look, everyone keeps complimenting me on my coloring, how I look like a normal human now, not like a fucking ghoul. I was describing it to Brittany, how like everything just seems more colorful and vibrant in life, right? And then obviously the cancer diagnosis came back, and for the most part, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, this is just the next step. Like, let's just get through it. But at the same time, it's rough because, I guess I was looking forward to being able to sort of be like full power, if you will. And then this came up as sort of just like, I've described it before as like moving the goalpost, right? But like in a different way, because it's not technically the same thing. It's just like another complication that arose from it, right? So mentally it's rough because I felt like I was ready to just like go like just like crazy and just do a bunch of other stuff, all the stuff like I wanted to do, whether it is like specifically for content creation or just like in life, if you will. But then it's like taking another step back. And so especially like with cancer specifically, especially when you get diagnosed as stage 4, everyone thinks like stage 4 is like you have a death sentence, right? Like I remember strictly asking my oncologist, I'm like, all right, just don't like bullshit me. Like, am I gonna die basically? And he's like, no, like you should, because like it's all been like removed for the most part. We're going through the chemo just to kill off like any remnants, right? Like everyone is in agreement that everything should be fine. Like unless other stuff like comes up or the cancer becomes like extremely aggressive, which it probably shouldn't, because like basically it's non-existent. Like they gave me like a 60 to 70% chance that, and we like statistics in our game, that I'm going to be fine. Like I'm going to go through this chemo, the stuff's going to come back, everything's going to be good. And then I never have to deal with this again, aside from just like routine, like follow-ups to make sure that like nothing's coming back. Right. So it's been mentally taxing in the sense that like I'm grappling with having to balance, like not overdoing it because physically and mentally, it's just such a strain dealing with like chemo and everything, but wanting to do all these things, that, there's like this limitation on how much I can actually do in a particular day. Right. And so I'm sort of just like going through this, and when you're dealing with cancer, right, you just get very, reflective about life in general and like what's important, what's not important, what things you want to do or still do, or, like you've tried to like reprioritize all the things in your life, and you don't need cancer as an excuse to do that, right? You can do that at any moment. But I think for a lot of people, that's like when they have this like sort of near death or, this sort of, I don't exactly know how to describe it, but like when you have those sort of moments, they act as that catalyst for you to like be introspective and sort of like reflect on the things that matter most to you. And so I've been having a lot of time to do that. And it's just been, it's been fine, I'll say. Like I'll have my good days and my bad, where some days I'm just like venting to my wife or my friends about like this or that. But then other days I'm like, I'm just happy that, I am in the situation that I am. There's so many ways that not only all of the health stuff, but then all of like my life circumstances surrounding the health stuff, that I could be in a much worse position. And I guess I just, through having UC for so long, I've learned to just look through things through a relative lens on like, oh, well, it could be worse, right? Like I'm still able to do a lot of things that I want to do. I'm not like completely incapacitated, right? So like it's tough. It's tough. And so it's really just the good days with the bad. And so just like anyone else, it's the ebbs and flows of it all. So it's good having this time, because I feel like it's going to help me sort of like focus on, once we get to the end of July, what I like really want to like put all my effort into, like in a post cancer world, if that makes sense. Ryan Lanier 3783 asks, how do you manage to keep posting such amazing content when you've been through so much while doing it? You're a huge inspiration. I want to know how you find the strength to keep drawing your cards when life keeps dumping hand traps on you. Thank you for all that you do. Hope nothing but the best for you. Thank you, Ryan. Honestly, like it's really just a matter of just like scaling back the content and just ensuring that I'm able to like actually do it. I'm very grateful that the people that I work with are very flexible. So if there's days where I'm like, hey, I'm just like out of it, like, can we do it another day? They're very open to that. And so it may not be ideal for me because I'm a very structured person. I think that's the tism, to be honest. But I like when things are like a certain way, I like them just to be that way. So I've had to learn to become a bit more, spontaneous or inflexible, if you will, just to adapt to the current situation. But I mean, Prog's going on like 5 years now. The card review videos are nice because they're so laid back where it's just us yapping for an hour, kind of like how I'm doing with all of you right now. And Masochist is kind of similar, except we're just streaming it and I get to interact with you guys live, right? So it can be more tolling and taxing like than it otherwise would be, but it's really just about balancing it, like I said earlier, and just making sure that I'm still taking care of myself. That's why the Masochist streams are like the most infrequent, because it's like they don't have like a set schedule. I usually stream Thursday for, I don't know why, honestly. It just kind of happened that way. Which is ironic considering that's also when Masochist goes live on YouTube. But anyway, yeah, it's really just, if I'm feeling good, I'm good to record. I've got like my structure in terms of like these particular series. And then if not, then I try to move it around. And thankfully we're like ahead on some of these as well. So even if we have to like skip a week, because like, you know, maybe someone else like got sick or maybe they have travel plans or whatever, it's not the end of the world. Pika Gamer Plus Pizza 7478 asks, any more weird, funny other patient stories? Since I've been in the hospital, not really. I told you guys all the best ones. When I was getting chemo yesterday, one of the other patients there was like, I'm pretty sure she was talking to like one of her other doctors or insurance companies or whatever. But I usually have the headphones that I usually wear in most of my videos. I bring those with me just because they have noise canceling and I just don't want to like listen. So many people in there just like yap or like play stuff on their phone at like max volume because they're like, I bring the median age of the place down by like 50 years. So it's like, on one hand, I get it, they're old, but on the other hand, it's like, can we have some respect for the other people that are there? This facility that I visit specifically holds 40 people in it at once. And so if like a bunch of people are doing that, it's like kind of inconsiderate, I guess, but that's just my mini rant. But this woman was like just cussing out a storm to her like doctor or insurance company or whatever. I could hear it through, she was sitting directly next to me, but I had my noise canceling headphones on and I was listening to stuff. And I could hear her through all of that because she was like basically screaming at these people like, oh, you're not going to tell me what to fucking do, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I get it. Like I've been there where I'm frustrated with dealing with my health insurance or my doctor or whatever, but like just cussing them out isn't going to like actually get anything done. It's like, I don't know. Like I feel bad because like when people are in these types of situations, like they just feel like the world is against them. And it's like one thing after another, especially if you're familiar with the US, you know, healthcare system. It's frustrating. I get it. So, but I've learned that like the nicer you are with people, the more willing they are to help you figure out what it is you're trying to get done. Like the anger does nothing. It literally is just useless. Mixapo, hope I'm pronouncing that right, asks, I recall you mentioned when getting your first and second treatment that it wasn't that big of a deal. It was supposed to build up over the course of all treatments. So how are you now? Does your body actually feel worse every time you do it? And the most recent treatment, that much worse than the first? Hope you can get through everything all right, man. Here's hoping. Thanks, Mixapo. So fortunately, I feel like I haven't really had a huge like accumulation of symptoms like they've gotten worse. I think if anything, the fatigue maybe, because again, I feel like if MBT Engage came out for another tournament, I would not be able to like do that again. At least on my on week. If it was my off week, it'd be fine, but that happened to line up with my on week, which is awful. So I feel like that's it. Everything else is basically the same. And like I said, during the on week, the symptoms are there, and the off week, they're basically all gone. So I get a reprieve, which is really nice. I don't feel like any of them have gotten worse over time. And like, here's hoping, right, that like that still stays the same because it makes it a lot more manageable at the end of the day. And God, I hope I'm not gonna have to start sleeping like 18 hours a day. Buzz Killington 9680 asks, now that you've had the surgery, do you still need to have a very strict diet or can you eat whatever you want now? So this isn't directly tied to the chemo, but obviously it's all like sort of goes in hand. That's also kind of the frustrating thing. So like everything in terms of the actual like colectomy and the removal of my colon and dealing with the ostomy bag has been like exceptional. And I credit that to the amazing team at that I had working on this with me, because if it wasn't for them, there was no way that, you know, it would have gone this smoothly. And that's what's frustrating, right? Because it's like, I can like all the stuff that like was a problem with my UC is gone, but now I have to deal with all the cancer stuff, right? Which is good and bad, because I couldn't imagine having to deal with UC and the cancer stuff at the same time, because that would be overwhelming for anyone. And so, yeah, like so the only things I really can't eat are like corn, like whole corn. Like I can have like corn tortillas because it's milled. Like nuts, so like, you know, almonds, anything like that. And then like big seeds, like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, I guess, like big, I also have like sesame seeds because I eat a lot of Asian food, obviously. But anything that's like very hard to digest, that is also thick, because the biggest thing you worry about is like an obstruction and a blockage. So, but for the most part, aside from those like few things, because they're pretty few and far between for the most part, I guess another one's like celery, right? But if it's like cooked celery, like if it's in like a stew, I think that's okay, because like anything like cooked is like very easily digestible for the most part. But if it's like raw, it's so like sinewy, and like anything that's like insoluble is not good for the stoma for the most part. But aside from that, I can eat whatever the fuck I want, and it's fucking great. I remember we went to this Italian restaurant in Vegas that I absolutely love, but like I would obviously feel like shit every time I ate there, because Italian food was like a bomb for anyone who has UC. But like my wife and I went, I think we didn't eat lunch that day. We got like 2 orders of truffle fries. We each got a bowl of pasta, and then we split a pizza on top of it. And I felt fucking great. There was no issues with that. I pounded down that food, and it was incredible. So it's been so fun being able to like re-experience all the foods I already loved, but now I don't feel like shit after I eat them. It's insane. And also being able to revisit stuff that I wasn't able to have because it was like too much for me. So for instance, one of the things recently is orange juice. So orange juice is so acidic that before, if I drank that, oh my God, I would be like wiped. It would be awful for my system, just because like anything super acidic with UC is bad. But I had some orange juice the other day, and I was like, I forgot how much I love orange juice, because I wasn't really able to drink it before. And so that was really fun. So it's like the small like things, I guess. Like for anyone else, it's like, oh, it's just like fucking orange juice, right? But you know, I was able to have that, and I like orange juice. It's good. Bulbasan2143 asks, honestly, I'm curious if diarrhea is a thing when you have the bag. Like, would it just fill up extra fast, or since the digestive process seems it's sort of abbreviated anyways, is it generally a constant pace? Strange question, I'm sure, but couldn't help but wonder. So yeah, you can still have it. It's just like, you want the consistency of like what comes out of the bag to be like pudding. And this might be kind of graphic, so if you want to skip this question, go ahead. But yeah, like you want the consistency to be like pudding, because it's never going to be like solid like most people experience like defecating, because the large intestine is usually what desiccates the stool, which then makes it like solidified, right? So since I don't have that anymore, that's not really a thing. So by eating a lot of like bulky type foods like applesauce, yogurt, bananas, just like things like that, that's what helps it get to like that pudding type consistency. And that's what you always want to see, because that means like it's like everything's like very healthy for the most part. But sometimes you can have like diarrhea, and then it's just basically like it's just like liquid going into the bag at the end of the day. And so like in those cases, you might have to empty it more frequently. But that's so different than someone who has to go to the bathroom more frequently because they're experiencing it like who has a normal digestive tract, right? It's the same thing. So yeah, it is a thing. It's not super common because obviously I don't have UC anymore. It can be a side effect of the chemo, but honestly, it's like too hard to tell. That's like one of those things where it's like, well, anything can give you that. So like, who the fuck knows? Real Julia Lagorda asks, any upcoming series with MBT? I miss those. I miss those too. I was telling Joseph that when he was here for the YCS, that I missed us working on stuff together. But at the same time, I'm going through all my stuff, but he also just has exploded and is doing so much stuff now. We want to do something. We just haven't really figured it out, but I hope we do in the future. Anthony asks, what does your typical workout look like with everything that has happened? So I go to the gym probably like 3 days a week. Usually coincides with when my wife goes to Pilates. But when I do work out, I basically try to alternate between just doing cardio, where I'll just like walk very briskly and or run on the treadmill for a long time. Or I just have like a weight day, whether it's like arms or legs or like whatever. So I'm just trying to just stay as fit as I can. I'm not going to get like, giga jacked or anything, after this, but I'm definitely on a like workout arc of sorts. So, if I start getting a little bit toned, like, I've been hitting the gym. Drisky Fingo asks, do any of the chemo drugs they give you require you to chew ice chips? And if so, do you hate ice yet? Asking as someone who went through chemo last year. Also, are you on prednisone for several days after the chemo? And again, if so, how's that affecting your sleep? So, with regards to the ice chips, supposedly a way to help deal with the neuropathy is if you like put your hands in like ice while you're getting treatment. That's supposedly supposed to help with it. I don't find the neuropathy that big of an issue that I feel like I have to go to that extreme, because it just goes away by the end of the week. So it's like, it's annoying, but like, I'm not going to do anything like super crazy. I'd rather just chill when I'm getting my treatment. No pun intended. Then prednisone, I don't think they give me prednisone as the steroid before my chemo. I don't know, to be fair, what the steroid is that they gave me prior. But in any case, In terms of the sleep, I kind of mentioned before, sometimes I'm just like wired, but most of the time I still sleep through it because I'll sleep through anything. Jersey Man 55 asks, struggles with an ostomy bag. I've had my fair share with mine. Thankfully, no. My skin is actually very tolerant of like the adhesive that goes on. Even the ostomy nurses told me that I have like really good skin and like body composition for an ostomy bag. So I'm very grateful for that. I've had like my couple instances of like a leak or so, but I think it's more so just sort of getting used to like having to like adhere the bag properly and do things like that. So anyone who has this experience, like I think that's going to happen. I think you're kind of fooling yourself that you're going to have a perfect experience. But for the most part, I've just, gotten better with it over time. I can't believe it's been like 3 months post-surgery now. But I love it. It's great. I'm thankful that I've not had many issues. And honestly, I'm considering keeping it, not even getting the other surgeries. Maybe that'll be a discussion for another video. Dr. Abdo Flaha, I apologize if I butchered your name, and hopefully you're a real doctor if that's the case. Did any of the post-chemo imaging show signs of remission? So that's what's really interesting about this whole thing. So if you haven't watched the other videos, the quick summary is that for the most part, my surgeon cut out almost all of like any visible signs of cancer. And most of it was basically in the colon. So it was easy to get that out. The problem is why I'm diagnosed with stage 4 is because it did permeate the colon lining. It got into the peritoneum and it also got into some of my lymph nodes, which she also took out. Like that all got cut out. So technically speaking, when they do my regular blood work and my scans, there are no signs that I even have this cancer anymore. We're talking about like microscopic levels of like cells that exist still. However, there's one very specific test called the Sigma-Tera test. Sigma-Tera, I forget. Something like that. That is a test that they specifically designed to like your genetic profile and is supposed to be the most accurate in detecting if there are cancer cells that are still present within the body. That test came back. You want the number on that test to be 0. My number is 2.9. That number can be way higher. So it is when my oncologist got that test back, because it takes several weeks for that to process. My oncologist got that test back and we're very optimistic that this is going to be something that's going to be easily resolved because 2.9 is extremely low. I'm actually in May going for follow-ups for all this blood work and the scans to make sure everything still looks good. I would not be surprised if that number is basically 0 at this point. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to ask if they have to keep doing chemo at that point. I probably will. But, I figure I might ask so I don't have to suffer for, another 3 months. But in any case, it's very optimistic. Everyone's very optimistic. We want that number to be 0. Like I said, that number could be way higher, and that would be a lot more concerning. But the fact that mine is barely even, like, measurable is a very good sign. And so hopefully when those results come back in May, probably June, honestly, with how long it'll take for them to process. But I get them in May. It's looking very good. It's looking very good. And I thought we'd end on a fun one. Luke asks, can you still fart? That is a very fun question. So, yes, technically, but not really. So basically, it's not coming out of my butt because my butt is basically stapled shut at this point. However, the stoma's name is Gideon. Gideon sometimes can be quite loud, and there are some foods that are more like gaseous that can like make it worse. It's all the same foods that you would eat normally that would also make you fart, right? So every now and then, sometimes in the morning, I think because it's been such a long period between dinner and then breakfast, he will be very active, let's say, and it's kind of like cute. They're like cute little like just like farts that just like happen every now and then. And I can't control it. Like it just. You can like hold a fart sometimes. Gideon, it just comes out. And so most of the time it doesn't happen and like it's just constantly like flowing whatever output into the bag. But every now and then he likes to get a bit rambunctious and he wants his attention. So it's very cute. It's very endearing. So if you're ever like around me at an event and you hear that, that's all that is. It's like you can't smell it or anything because it's like all going into the bag and the bag is like all sealed. But if you ever hear that noise, like I apologize for one, but two, it's very cute. It's very funny. So that's it. I know there's a bunch of other questions that a lot of you asked both on Twitter and YouTube, and I'm sorry I can't get to all of them, but I want to wrap it up here. I think this is, we're going close to an hour now, so it's been quite a bit of time, but I just want to thank you guys all so much for the support over the entirety of this journey. It's meant a lot, just seeing all your messages, both publicly and privately. It's been really nice. It's crazy to have like spirit ball level energy to be able to like help you through something that's like this. And if you're going through something similar, or even if not, if like you're going through whatever struggles, I wish that, you have the best experience possible to get through it on your end as well. So again, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, we got that walk coming up. If you want to donate, that'd be really cool. If not, no big deal. And then check out Lavi. If you want to help us make the best bathroom app in the world and have the greatest bathroom network imaginable to improve the lives of everyone, check it out. It's really cool. So thank you guys all so much again for watching. We'll see you next time.